Hello everybody, welcome to the Cavecast. Today we actually have a guest. And no, it's not Johnny, it's not the bald man. It's Daniel, it's Captburgerson.
Hi, my name's Johnny. You may know me as Zinc on the internet. No.
He's changed.
Right, tell us your worst take.
My worst take is
because you're Zinc, obviously.
Oh yeah, he does have spicy takes. I have some spicy takes, don't I? Yeah, my hottest take is that Adam's not all that handsome.
Ooh.
Oh
man, just kidding. I love
Hold
you.
that.
Oh, you had me there.
It was a lie. I'm actually just pull a mask off. I'm actually Daniel. It's me.
No way.
And Adam is handsome.
This is awesome. Whoa.
Whoa. Let me pull my mask off as well. Then I'm handsome.
Okay, we have a few topics to get through today, and we have a decent amount of time compared to usual, but we don't have that much time. So, Daniel.
Hi.
What do you think about Zelda in 2025? Do you think anything will happen with the series? Do you think nothing will happen? Do you think it'll be a breather?
This could very well be a breather year. Everyone's clamoring for like a remake, a remaster. And we just got 2 years in a row of like new Zelda title. Not just like, because we ate pretty good the last like decade of just like consistently every year something Zelda happening. I think we had 1 year in the last decade of no new release of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that was when Tears of the Kingdom was delayed as well, wasn't it?
It was.
If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So it was supposed to come that year. It got delayed, and then they did nothing. But then, obviously, with 2023 we had Tears of the Kingdom. 2024 we had Echoes of Wisdom, and I know everyone wants it, but I could see just nothing happening this year because at least Echoes was like tail end of the year, like it was at the end.
Yeah,
of last
it was
year.
September, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is not the answer everyone was hoping for.
It's not the answer
people need to hear.
Sometimes,
exactly.
Sometimes.
Do we think anything for the movie at all?
Oh,
that's the one thing that did come to mind there, because I'm kind of in agreement with you, Daniel, that like I think this could be a pretty quiet year, especially like on games. But if there's going to be anything, I feel like it would maybe just be something on the movie.
Yeah, maybe like at most like a casting announcement.
Something like that.
Something
casting
small.
announcement are like in like the end of the year sometime. I think that's a decent shout, to be honest, which is going to make the internet light up on fire.
Oh yeah, that'll be a very fun day, for better or worse.
That's going to be even funnier than the Mario casting, I swear.
It's me, a Mario.
Cannot wait for Jack Black to play Link.
If Tom Holland actually gets cast, there will be riots in the street. I just know it. It was like a meme thing. Well, no, I think someone actually wanted it, and then it became kind of a meme thing. And then I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to get their wires crossed and be like, oh, people who actually want this.
we can hope it doesn't happen.
Sony's involved, so I mean they've got Tom Holland in the bag, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
He did Uncharted, right? So
he's down for anything as long as there's money.
We're building a good case for him to get it here.
I think Zelda in 2025 in general. Shut up, Adam. Hold that.
Put me in my place.
I think if there is anything, movie announcement tail end of the year. And I don't think there'll be anything big. I think if there is anything, like Daniel said, I think maybe a port, like everyone's clamoring for anyway. It doesn't seem likely either way.
Now, what I would want to happen is different than what I think will happen, right? Because I'd love to see like the Oracle games get a full treatment, right? Like Link's Awakening did.
Please.
But specifically because I want to see that soundtrack, or hear, I guess, that soundtrack like orchestrated. I love the Link's Awakening remake soundtrack.
That's awesome, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But I'd really love the Oracle games as well, because I'm not the biggest fan of them, and it's mostly to do with how they look.
Speaking of hot takes.
So I'd really love to see those remade.
That's the thing, though, is for me, like the graphics just tend not to bother me in games in general.
Yeah.
But that is the thing, is everyone's like, oh, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but those games, like, honestly, we did get HD remakes of them already, and like I still go back and play those HD remakes, and they hold up pretty well. I don't think they need it as much, whereas like these games would really benefit from a treatment way more.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, the Oracle games. I mean, they would get so much more mileage out of a remake than games that have already had that treatment's the word of the day. Apparently, my bad.
In terms of like, I mean, talking of new releases, we were going through the list. You know, Tears of the Kingdom, Echoes of Wisdom just came out. Mm-hmm. What are some of your thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom? Because I feel like we've outlined ours pretty thoroughly now, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess your guys' whole first episode was that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he's a fan of the channel.
I watched at least all the ones that are out. I don't know if all of the ones you have recorded are out when we're doing this, but no, I really enjoyed Echoes of Wisdom. I don't think it would crack like my top 5 Zelda games, but I found it to be a really enjoyable a game, a really nice taste of something different with a lot of familiar elements thrown in, which is a nice balance.
It's really nice after Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. It's very nice to go back to some like old elements, I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
There were so many little moments that felt very classic Zelda that I was like, I missed this, you know? So, but yeah, I thought it was a very lovely game. If I can plug myself a little, of course, I had a discussion video all about it, mostly praising it. Actually, Adam was in that video.
I was, yeah. That was a brilliant discussion.
It was a lovely, lovely chat.
Shall we do the thing that we usually do, where I go, yeah, really good video. Really good video.
yeah.
It's a great video.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, A Link to the Past was my first ever Zelda game, so like that sort of setting for Hyrule is a nostalgic sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
And so that definitely hit the right chord. And in the same way that like if we went to, you know, if we went back to like an Ocarina of Time setting, I'm sure like that would hit nostalgia right for a lot of people. Actually, for me included, but yeah. So it was nice to sort of go back to that, but in an expanded version. And I'm on my third playthrough of the game currently, and it has been fun to try specifically to do things in a different way than I did before. Like going out of my way to be like, okay, I did this dungeon first last time. I'm gonna try this one first, and now that I'm doing this one first, I don't have, the flying tile echo, so I can't do this way, and there is enjoyment to be had out of that. I think the trying to work around situations in different ways is rather enjoyable.
It makes it more replayable, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does.
For sure.
I was gonna say it sort of carries over like that feel from the 2 games before, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you can replay it and do it differently each time, albeit on a completely different scale. But Echoes of Wisdom does have that aspect where you could play it again and have a very decent different experience than the first time.
One thing that as I've gotten older, I'm an older man. I have found that I lean, like in terms of replayability, I start leaning more towards smaller scale games than like large open world games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I mean I've played those 2 games a lot, but like it's the time commitment thing where it's like if I want to replay a game on the scale of Echoes, that's maybe like a couple weeks of a time commitment for a game. Whereas like if I'm gonna do a replay of Tears of the Kingdom, that is several months of time commitment. So yeah, like it's nice to have a game where it's like I can sit down and play it, and I'm not gonna be kind of like tied to it forever. If that makes sense.
For sure.
Bigger is not always better.
Goddamn right.
Sometimes less is more, right? So
that's totally fair. I get the same way with games that I just sometimes deep inside I do really want to play it, but it's too much of a commitment at that time.
Totally.
But yeah, the smaller Zelda games are definitely great for that because they're still packed whilst being small.
That is a thing too. Yeah, they're packed, and Echoes is the same. It's like there is stuff everywhere to find, or
there is a lot of stuff.
For how big that overworld is, they packed a lot into that game. In terms of side content, especially. Yeah,
the world, just exploring that world's pretty great. It's really interactive for a world that size.
Yeah.
It's very interactive. That's something I really loved about it.
Yeah.
The amount of side quests and stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
great.
The only thing is that horses were just so useless.
Yeah,
Get a horse. It's
Very true.
great.
when they showed that off before release, it looked like a really cool feature, but in reality, it wasn't as cool as it was made out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered Echoes of Wisdom pretty nicely there. Well, I mean, kind of on the same topic in a way. I don't know what you've seen, Daniel, but from my non-uploading point of view, I feel like I've just not seen many actual videos on Echoes of Wisdom. So, I kind of want to transition into the state of Zeldatube, in your opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is funny because I mean, it's exactly as you said. There's right at release there was like a ton of stuff, and Brett had his Hoodless Zelda campaign that I hopped on board very quickly.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah.
And aside from that, there just hasn't been a lot of Echoes chatter or Echoes just content in general. And I even saw, actually, at the time that we're recording this, like NBC posted a new Tears of the Kingdom video the other day. So it's like almost like people are kind of going back to the previous game. Yeah, and even on my channel, I've posted. I'm currently working on like my maybe like third or fourth Echoes video. Only my second Echoes dungeon video. So it's like, I'm not sure. I think maybe just the holidays set people back. I think that's certainly a part of it. We were just talking about being unproductive before this. Before we started recording.
Don't bait us out like that.
I mean, I include myself in that, right? Like I was so unproductive over December. So, but I think it's just smaller games like that don't necessarily hold the public attention for as long.
True.
And like a lot of big channels like Bandit, for example, as I'm not calling him out in a bad way, nothing but love to him, but he's sort of transitioned to not being solely Zelda content focused. So he was doing other stuff last year, like focusing on other games, and there was Elden Ring DLC. That's a big deal. As well. So I just think it's one of those things where it's a smaller scale game, but that also kind of garners a smaller scale of public focus around it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. I think you are right for sure, because I think Tears of the Kingdom as well, especially, it drummed up a lot of buzz, but a lot of it, especially in the last, after the first 3 months or so, it was a lot of negative buzz.
Yes. Yeah, it's so funny how that, I mean, the three of us have had this conversation before, but it is funny how the public perception of that game turned so rapidly from like, this is the greatest game ever, to it's terrible, actually it's the worst game ever made in like 6 months of time. Like it was such a fast turnaround. At least with games like Sonic Adventure, they waited like a decade at least before fans started actually picking it apart.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, just give Tears of the Kingdom a year. Come on.
Please, bro. No, I mean, I love that game. I really do like Tears of the Kingdom. And it is funny as, like, this is a bit of a tangent, sorry, but it's like, I hear, like, people's criticisms of it, and I hear it, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I even agree with a lot of it. But, I mean, for me, like, any game is a big bag of things I like and things I don't like, and you put them all in the bag and you shake it up, and it's like, well, which side is head? This analogy is super loose. It doesn't even make sense. But like, it's a mix of things, right? It's not just one thing or another. And it's like, well, do the things that you like about it outweigh the things you don't, or vice versa? And for me, it's just the things I find fun about the game outweigh things that I don't like about it, like Demon King Secret Stone.
Demon King? Secret Stone?
Secret Stone? Demon King? That stone that you are wearing.
Demon King. Secret Stone.
Running around and killing bokoblins in the depths is so fun that I'm willing to look past Demon King Secret Stone. That's what it comes down to, right? So
I do feel that. I mean, obviously, we're not going to spin this into a whole Tears of the Kingdom discussion. We've done that many times.
For sure.
But I do think I definitely agree that I see the complaints 100%. And even Johnny was talking about it in the last Cavecast episode that came out, I'm pretty sure. And I 100% see all of his complaints, but at the same time, I also don't care.
Yeah, right. That is the thing. Is I think a lot of time people forget that we are people. We have our takes and our opinions, but we are.
Yeah.
I hate the term, but essentially we are influencers. We have sway over public opinion, and
how dare you?
even just saying the word just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I felt my like heart cringe at the word influencer.
Oh, I don't like it, but it is the cold hard truth, right?
Yeah,
I saw TikTok influencers in my brain.
People will digest and even adopt sort of our opinions at a certain point. And not to I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think if I think I could write a video essay saying something's terrible, even if it's not, and I could convince people it's terrible.
Definitely.
I think we have the ability to eloquently phrase things in a way that that's why people listen to us, because they want our opinions, right? But
totally.
Yeah, it is just a facet of existing online, but I think a lot of the Tears of the Kingdom discourse, a lot of Zeldatube is funny because we're kind of an insular community in a way. We're a very welcoming community in general, I think.
Oh yeah.
But the popular Zelda discourse within Zeldatube tends not to necessarily align with common gaming discourse, outside of Zeldatube. Outside of hardcore Zelda fans, the casual gaming market tends to just view Tears of the Kingdom as a very good game, and just as that. Yeah. But then inside the Zelda community, the discourse, it runs so much deeper because we've, I guess, just put so much more thought into it, and we kind of ruin it for ourselves in some ways. I think by doing that, but that is the market.
I like that. That's a very good answer to the whole state of Zeldatube in general, to be fair, and even kind of the state of the Zelda community and the wider gaming community when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom. Very nice. Very eloquent. You may have won me over.
I may have changed people's minds in the comments. I may have influenced some opinion.
Oh, no.
No, I hate the word influencer, though. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, ew, no, I don't like that.
It makes me think of people who film themselves in public quite often, but get really entitled about it when other people walk in their shot.
And they'll go
exactly
to Dubai.
What I think of when the word influencer comes up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think sorry, Daniel,
please.
would you like to go?
No, I'm
going to change topic. You go.
Do it.
Please.
No, I had nothing to say.
This is a Brit versus a Canadian. There's no way we're going to win.
The two most apologetic countries.
I'm so sorry.
No, you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, please.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. So now you have to go.
Perfect. So you discussed a little bit in the State of Zeldatube bit that you're an influencer, eh? Well, when you're influencing, what's your process of making videos? Which kind of sounds like a really hard question to answer now that I've said it out loud.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it comes to script making, what order do you do things? We want to just give the listeners, the viewers, a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be a Zelda tuber in a way.
Right. Well, I mostly do a series, which makes writing easier because I have already a structure that I can follow. Because most of my videos are along the same series of videos, right? So that makes it easier. Whereas if you're the kind of creator who just sporadically, Trends, who you kind of just, I mean, maybe not recently, but you kind of sporadically do just sort of whatever you feel like talking about, aside from maybe your retrospective. That's a series, but your one-off videos are just kind of ideas you have. But running a series does make it easier because, I don't have to worry about how am I gonna sort of the general layout of the script is gonna be consistent. I always a rule for myself is before talking about a game, I play the game first. This is a rule I gave to myself because I have worked with many people in the past who didn't do that. Before starting my own channel, I worked on many other YouTube channels and yeah, like not everyone does that, and sometimes it shows when they just like misremember something, and I'm like, and I hate to be the guy that's like, oh, actually, although you know, like, you know, but if I don't do that, then the comments will. So, and that's worse, right? But so yeah, I always play and record things. I'm very meticulous about. You know what? I even do that about like. If someone like corrects me, you would be shocked how many times I get a comment of one of those actually comments, and they're just flat out wrong or misremembering. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I did double check this actually. So, did you not trust that I even recorded it? You're seeing it on screen. I swear, I checked. Yeah. So yeah, but typically I will start with recording, like, you know, whatever the subject matter is, playing the game, and as I play it, I kind of just take notes of things that stand out, and then I actually watch my recording and take more notes, which sounds tedious, but I think it's important because like there's a lot of details that like sometimes you miss, or like when you're playing a game, you can't stand there and like take note of engravings on a wall, right? Yeah. But when you're watching it back, you can pause and be like, oh, that's a fish on the wall. Yeah.
it's like watching a movie for the second time almost.
Exactly, yeah.
You start picking up on all the other details that aren't the main focus. It sounds exactly like that.
Yeah, no, total. That's a good analogy, actually. Yeah, and then I just take those bullet points, those notes that I've written, and kind of just expand on them until a script somehow takes shape. And actually, that's the hardest part for me. Is I'm not a talented writer. I feel that writing is very difficult for me. It takes me way too long to write, and I'm incapable of being concise. I'm even doing it now, where I just tend to ramble.
Ramble as much as you want, Daniel.
People seem to like the rambling. I'll put out. It's like I have a 5-hour video on Twilight Princess on my channel, so I guess people don't mind lengthy ramblings because that video is.
I don't mind 5 hours on Twilight Princess. I'll never say no to that.
You're in that video.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, but yeah, and then. After that, it's, you know, record audio, and I get into the editing. Editing is my favorite. I'm a big editing guy.
Same.
So that's just editing for me is when things start to feel like they're actually like really taking shape, and the video starts to become sort of realized in a way. So
I can't remember anymore. What is it like to edit? What is it like to write?
I'm gonna go for another little analogy here, but editing to me is like if you're gonna cook a nice meal for dinner, editing's like the actual cooking part. Everything else was like you've went shopping, you've got your ingredients, you've prepped them.
Yes.
Cooking it is the editing. It's the best part. It's whenever, like you said, it's like when everything comes together, you start to see how it's looking, and then the final product. That's a great feeling.
Absolutely. That is a great analogy, because like when you're writing, you're shopping in the store for ingredients. That's just like not that interesting. That's not that fun.
Yeah. It's hard to engage with it because you're not really seeing the full thing yet.
Right. You're just getting kind of components and ideas of what you're going to make, but it's not really coming together till it's all in the pan or whatever, depends on what you're cooking. But yeah, absolutely. That's a great analogy. I'm gonna steal that.
You're more than welcome.
Good. But yeah, no, it's the thing I think a lot of people forget. I've literally had people in my real life talk to me about like, oh, what do you do for work? And then I have to have the awkward conversation of like,
I hate that.
YouTube, and then they have a million questions. I've literally had people say something along the lines of like, oh, you play video games for a living, and I'm like, that really sells short the amount of hats I have to wear. You know, because doing this is, you are a writer, you are a voice actor, you are an editor. I do play video games, but that's like just like one fraction of the process, right? And you know, and not just all of that, but then none of it matters if you don't do the arguably most vaguely defined part of the job, which is marketing yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people have I don't even really have a handle on that. I've just been riding the algorithm through to to even get to the 20K that I've gotten. So it's like, yeah. So it is. I think a lot of people will sort of forget just how much work goes into putting together a good video, and it's one of those things where it's like when a video's not good, you know it. It's almost like harder to notice good quality than bad quality video editing and writing. And,
I feel that.
If that makes sense, yeah. So
yeah, totally.
I mean, I love doing it. I'm very. All this is to say that I'm not complaining. I'm always grateful to have the chance to actually do this, because I do this full time now, which wasn't always the case. But the fact that I can is a blessing and is an opportionity that I'm extremely grateful for. You know, it's not something that most people get to do, right? So yeah.
Man, that's really awesome. I actually had no idea you'd went full time, and maybe I missed it or something, but that's really awesome.
Oh,
that's really good.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I did, and good riddance, because I used to work in banking, and that job made my soul cry every day.
I can imagine.
It was not for me, is what I'll say. Yeah.
Well, in the middle of that, we were talking about the dungeon design series, and you can use that kind of as a template and everything. Mm-hmm. But how about we go even further back? How did the dungeon design series come to be?
Yeah.
What made you think that's the one? That's it.
The sort of genesis of the series is, for those who don't know, I'm a dad. I have a son who is now 12, and the math is right, but it doesn't feel like it should be that. But at the time, a few years back when I started writing the series, is because I've always been very open with my son about, like, I have all of these games. Feel free to play them, you know.
Nice.
Take them.
And so he is very into games, and I think something I just started noticing with various games that he started into was that Zelda games in particular are very intuitive for new players to pick up, and so he was picking up Ocarina of Time for the first time, and I had offered, I was like, well, you know, you can play it on the 3DS version, or, you know, this was before it was out on NSO, so the other option was, I actually still have my N64, handy. I can hook that up if you want to try the game out. But he wanted to try it on the N64. I'm not sure why. I think he just thought it was retro and cool, which made my heart sad, because I was like, what do you mean retro? And
the bones started crackling.
Right, my exactly. And what do you mean I'm getting old? But yeah, just something about Zelda games I noticed I just kept noticing, like, whenever he would start into Zelda games, is that they're very intuitive games to pick up, and a lot of games I think we as gamers take for granted, sort of how complex sort of the language of gaming is, whereas Nintendo's just very good about making Zelda games accessible for new players. And so I was watching him play, not backseating, because I make a point of not unless he asks. He did beat the game, by the way.
Oh, nice.
I only had to give him one point of direction in the water temple, which was a key that he missed, and you probably know the one, or the water, like...
Oh, yeah.
You know,
everyone. Yeah, everyone.
It's the water dungeon.
Yeah. But he got through the water temple, so I mean, that's kudos to him, right? He loved the game. He wanted to be Link for Halloween that year. I loved it. My whole proud dad brain was firing on all cylinders. I just started to, like, taking mental notes of, like, what is it about Zelda games that makes them so intuitive for new players? Like, what is it about this that he can pick this up and get through this game, but he struggles with a game that I wouldn't say is any more complicated? So I sort of started just kind of picking it apart a bit, and then I had unrelated to that, a sort of playground conversation with another dad at my son's school one day. And the other dad was talking about getting his kids into video games. And I mentioned that my son had beat Breath of the Wild recently at that time. And the other dad said something to the effect of like, oh, that's impressive. I can't even get my kids into Mario Kart because they find it so difficult, let alone a game like Breath of the Wild, which is harder. And so I started thinking of like, well, you know, like Mario Kart is a game that is 100% reaction time. And Breath of the Wild is a game where you can really go at your own pace. So I felt like, you know, so anyways, my brain started going, and I started kind of looking critically at the Great Deku Tree dungeon, as is the first dungeon in Ocarina of Time, and like, what is it about that makes it so, like, how does the game teach you how it works so eloquently? And I started noticing things like, oh my gosh, like all the first enemies in that first dungeon are basically like stationary. So if you need to like make a hasty retreat, you can. So the first enemies you encounter are Deku Babas that just kind of stand still and kind of waggle on the spot a bit. And then you find some that lunge at you, but they're still planted in the ground. And then you find Skulltulas, they kind of swoop down at you, but they're still like stationary basically, right? And then there's Deku Scrubs who shoot at you, but all you have to do is block. That's it. And all of these enemies, what's so graceful about this as like a tutorial is that all of these enemies make sort of sense in the setting of that area. It's like a forest area, so you have plant monsters and spiders and Dekus, like it all makes sense.
So thematically perfect.
Yes, so it's like this is like the perfect tutorial. Like how did they nail this so hard? And so I wrote a video about how that first dungeon teaches you the game so well. And at the end of that video I was like, you know what? I really liked just examining a dungeon critically like this, so I think I'm gonna just like keep going with this. And it was kind of a spur of the moment decision, so it was gonna be a one-off, and then I decided right at the end of making that video that, you know, I'm just gonna keep going with this and see how the other dungeons build off of that. And then I realized I freaking just love dungeons and love talking about them. So then the series was born, and it is very funny because I go back to watch some of those old videos sometimes and I'm like, wow, these are so bad.
I think everyone has that, don't they? Everyone has that.
Yes, I think anyone who does art or writing or anything like that probably looks back.
Anyone who makes anything.
Yes, exactly. Anyone who makes anything is going to look at their old work and be like, ooh, that wasn't, because you see all the fault lines, you see, you know.
Yeah, but that's a really, really nice story. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that is a really good story, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think, because I've played games all my life, right? So I don't necessarily, or I wasn't at the time necessarily cognitive of like, how do I know how games work, you know, because I've just always known.
Yeah.
And so as cliche as it is, like fatherhood has sort of shown me through someone else's eyes of like how, you know, how learning goes, right? Whether it be games or otherwise. So it has been like an interesting experience. And now he's, you know, now I don't need to hold his hand through anything. He's a very competent little gamer. But in fact, I would say there are
seasoned veteran.
He's a veteran, yeah, exactly. I say if he can get through that water temple, I was like, yeah, he's set for the rest of the game. So, yeah,
no, perfect. That's a perfect answer.
Oh, thank you.
Well, yeah, it's fine. Really eloquent, you know, influencer, all that other stuff. All right, what we got next?
Ooh, I hate the word. Why did I say this?
You've done your fair share of theories, along with the dungeon design series, of course. Mm-hmm. So, what makes a good Zelda theory, in your opinion? Because I think this is probably a question that, when we get more guests onto the Cavecast, we'll have more and more. Basically, we're going to ask this question to everyone. So I think it was interesting to try and get everyone's opinion to see what makes a theory to them, because just like a dungeon in a way,
right?
Some people love the themes of a dungeon. Some will love the puzzles. Some will love the enemies. There's a reason why some people love Snow Peak Ruins, and some people are objectively wrong and hate Snow Peak Ruins.
Snow Peak is it's in the name, peak. Like it's
Exactly.
It is very peak.
it's in the name.
So back to the point. What makes a good Zelda theory, Daniel?
Yeah. So when Adam sent me the show notes, I took some notes about this point specifically because I think that it is. Of course, there's no like objective. I'm not the arbiter of truth on this subject necessarily, but for me, intrigue is a big part of it. So I always say like a good theory should start with a question.
Yeah.
And one that is actually interesting. And I find there's a few sort of rules I have for myself when it comes to theorizing. Occam's razor is a principle I follow very closely. I've talked about it in the past as well. But essentially, the way I apply it to Zelda theorizing is that like the less assumptions you have to make, the less sort of like leaps in logic or filling in the blanks yourself you have to make, the better. So like if you have sort of a theory you've been chasing and you've gathered evidence and you're following that, and then there's kind of like two sort of like ways you can kind of see it going, but one of them requires you to like just make a bunch of stuff up. That's probably not the right way to go with it. It's better to take the route that is that basically more closely follows the evidence rather than even if it's like less interesting. I think the evidence should always take precedent over what you just think would be cool, which sometimes sucks, but I also
just bring the Twilight back.
Bring it, bro. I think a good theory needs to be stress test as well before anyone like posts it, because so anytime I've written a theory, I have actively gone out of my way to try and disprove it first. And if I can disprove it, then it's not there's no point in posting it because someone else is going to disprove it anyways, right? So it's got to pass the stress test as well. And I think, a lot of people, not necessarily content creators, but a lot of people I've talked to online or people that shown up, I've seen like in comment sections of various videos, tend to get the idea of what is a theory and what is just their cool idea conflated.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I have this theory, and I'm like, that's not a theory. That is a cool idea, and cool ideas are cool, but that's not what a theory is. So I mean, those are sort of some of my sort of guidelines that I follow myself when I'm cooking up a theory, is like, trying to have as few leaps in logic, follow the evidence closely. There's an element of intrigue that's really important. And does it make sense? Can you stress test it? Can it be disproven? And if it can be proven without a shadow of a doubt, then you've actually just found lore, not a theory. So
True.
There is that.
And that's awesome.
You've made a discovery.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
And now you've got 300,000 subscribers, so well done.
Yeah.
That definitely sounds like a really solid way to make theories, especially to testing them, because I think you're right that there is often a sort of misconception about what a theory actually is. There is a lot of very cool ideas and speculations that are labeled as theories. And I'm going to be very honest, I've definitely been guilty of that in the past, getting it confused between what actually is a theory and when does it become more just a cool idea. I've definitely been guilty of that in the past, but
I don't know if if you have, you've squeaked by without me noticing.
I mean maybe like years ago, I think.
Years ago. Fair enough. Yeah, I just it's one of those things where it's not everyone is necessarily like practiced at it though, right? So it's never like, I don't say these things to like gatekeep Zelda theories, I would just encourage people to like, it's like, just these are some things that can make it better for you, rather. I never want to tell people don't make theories or don't speculate or don't have cool ideas. I just think totally it can be helpful for you when formulating those. So
I think it's important. It's an important distinction to make between theories and speculation.
For sure.
Because I think you can speculate on a theory, but if you can't find any evidence, then it is just speculation in the end.
Totally. And there's nothing wrong with speculation.
No, absolutely. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all very valid and welcome. It's just making sure to distinguish what's what instead of grouping it, because it does very easily get grouped all into this is a theory sometimes.
Totally.
But I mean, like yourself with giving feedback, for the most part, the Zelda community is very good at that. In terms of comparing it to other communities, in other communities you would get absolutely blasted for a little mistake like that. But for the most part in Zelda, everyone's pretty nice for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, of course, you're gonna find a-holes anywhere you go, right? But
it's gonna be something.
No, you're
everywhere.
not.
yeah. But it's one of those things like the stress testing, especially. Like, I didn't watch it, but I know the Game Theory posted a Zelda theory rather recently, and I heard it wasn't good. And I keep thinking no hate to that channel or those creators. It's not Matt Pat necessarily anymore. But every time they've touched a Zelda or done a Zelda theory,
it's all gone wrong.
It's always and so it's like they to me it always feels like they didn't necessarily stress test it. So but of course I think their whole philosophy is that they do more just does this sound interesting more than is it actually
it is a bit
theory.
more on the loose side.
Exactly. So but also at the end of the day, Zelda, even the creators of the series themselves say Zelda lore, Zelda as a franchise, it's all very malleable and open to interpretation, and and they want you to have fun with it. So don't feel held back just because some white guy on the internet told you that well actually in the lore this is correct and the Twilight can never return because the mirror broke and blah 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 blah. Just don't stress about it.
And I think that's pretty nicely covered. So I move on to our final question of the day, which to be honest we also kind of covered already, considering we heard that you've already gone full time. Which I both of us didn't know somehow. What's your life like making videos now versus when you started making them? Because I think, a bit of preamble before this question, our whole thing at the Cavecast is trying to get creators' faces and their voices heard as more than just a voice of Zelda theories or even dungeon design. It's trying to get characters across, and I think you are one of the bigger characters at the minute. For sure.
That's nice.
So yes.
Yeah. Well, I know. Zinc has a whole video about sort of the facelessness of Zelda creators. I don't think I've ever really been I don't always appear on camera, but I don't think I've ever been faceless, as it were, or kept my face hidden. But yeah, I think it's one of those kind of interesting points where everyone has their own style, but there is definitely a certain flavor that creators tend to adopt because they see success or other channels have success with it. But that's a bit tangential. Life is good though. Life making videos is good. It's creatively very fulfilling work. Which again going from working in finance is the opposite of that. So so from that mental health standpoint, it's a big improvement. Although sometimes the internet is such a brutal place that I have to remember to 100%. For my own mental health to take it easy on going down the comments rabbit hole sometimes. But but I digress.
For sure.
It is definitely one of those things where it's granted me a lot of freedom, and not just creatively, but also just in life, because going from an office job to this, I pulled in a lot of long days at that job where I was going to the office, I drop my son at school and then go straight to the office, and then I'm working so late I get home, he's getting into bed, and I'm I'm missing out on the life of my family. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, of course, like being able to make my own schedule, being able to give myself days off because I'm like, oh, I, want Christmas off.
Yeah.
I want that week off. So that has been great, to be honest with you. I feel it's a big improvement. I mean, it is funny though, like I guess there's a distinction more from like, I guess, full-time versus not full-time, because I've been making videos for the better part of 18 years on various YouTube channels. The first time I made, quote unquote made, I guess more that appeared in a video was my brother's video, and that was like 2006, 2007, something like that.
Wow.
And,
early days.
Oh yeah, early YouTube days, and it was like a college project he was doing for a psychology course, and he did like a video project on it, and then we were like, we had a lot of fun. Like I helped him. I was in the video for him, and then we had so much fun making it. We just started like making videos, and we did like a lot of home videos and stuff like that. Very low quality videos of us just like doing stupid shit, right, as siblings do, right? I actually have 3 brothers, and we all did videos together throughout the years, and the thing that I found is like, if you want to do this like as a career in quotes, it is difficult to do it relying solely on other people, whereas like, and not to call you guys out, because you guys do it as a group thing, but you also do your own things too, like
for sure.
I think that was sort of an important step, is to sort of like, of course I also worked on like other channels. I was on the Game Over Jesse channel for many years as well, like I think 5 or so years I was on that channel. But of course, and I loved working with Jesse. He's a very chill dude, very nice man. I have nothing but good things to say about him, but it is also like creatively liberating to just be able to do my own thing too,
be you.
For sure.
Leave me to not be fact checking and editing someone else's work, and there's nothing wrong with doing that per se, but like, just as a creative person, I like to at least think that I am. It is nice to be able to sort of make something of that's mine, so
I mean, creative independence is really important, I think, when it comes to trying to succeed
100%.
being creative.
I love how I can ramble for like a solid minute or two, and then Adam can just say what I said, but like like 100 times shorter and like better phrased. Like
I'm just giving the recap.
He's just like, so instead of listening to this guy talk, like this is what he said, and
we'll
this
put
is
timestamps of just all the little recaps.
just
Daniel, you're allowed to rant. You're the guest. You're the guest. You're allowed to rant.
You just so succinctly like just phrase it so much more eloquently. That's what I'm. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know if I'd call a Scottish man eloquent, but
my ancestors cry out.
We're 2 on 1.
Yeah, there we go. Wow. Well, I'm a bit of a mutt, actually, in terms of my heritage. So,
let's go.
There is that bit of a mutt. My great something grandparents were just getting around the UK. And France and Sicily, of all places.
They were doing the tour.
It's a mess. It's a mess. But I would say a good chunk is English and Scottish, actually, which is where I get my dashing looks from. So, of course, of course.
Where else?
Where else? Yeah. Life's good. Thanks for asking, Ed.
No, it's completely fine. I'm going to ask everyone else, so you're not special.
Well, I was first.
You were first.
That's
true. That's actually a fun fact. When we were talking about who we want to have on our guest first, you were the first name that came up for both of us.
I'm so glad.
And then I also messaged Daniel and then said that my girlfriend also said that Daniel should be the first guest.
She's a keeper.
And which is insane, because she's never even... I don't even think I've ever talked to her about Bergson. I don't think so. It's mental.
Hey, I mean, That's extremely flattering. I'm just always happy to be involved. You know, like I always try to. The last couple of years, especially, I've been trying to work with other people more.
Yeah.
I know I just had this whole spiel about independence and stuff.
Oh well, Daniel, we see you now. You're an influencer.
But no, it is cool to work with other people as well, and collaborate and stuff, because there is a different process to collaboration versus just like sitting alone in a room, right? So
yeah,
100%. Definitely.
Yeah. So it's cool. You can have it both ways. It's okay.
Daniel, would you like to plug yourself? I think we've talked about you enough, but
yeah,
you can plug yourself right here.
Sure, I will plug myself. I'm Daniel, if you made it this far and didn't pick up on that. No, all my social medias, everything is at Captburgerson. That's CaptBurgerson. No periods, no spaces, nothing like that. It's just Captburgerson. And yeah, if you hadn't picked up on it, I do Zelda content. I make videos about dungeons, mostly. Sometimes other things. Sometimes I have sort of like community discussions, like twice a year. Not that often, but I always love doing them. And sometimes these guys have appeared in some of those videos as well. So that's me, and I hope you enjoy the back catalog. I don't do news stuff. I try to keep all of my content as evergreen as I can, so people will have who can discover the channel will have a nice catalog of stuff to digest and go back and watch, and it's not like immediately dated because Switch 2 got announced or something. Right? So yeah.
Well, great. Thank you for being the first ever guest on the
thank you very
Cavecast,
much for coming
Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having
Everyone,
me.
give him a round of applause. I can't clap because I'm having to hold my microphone. This is really upsetting.
This
Right.
is a clap in spirit. The editor can put some applause.
Yeah, go on, Adam.
Yeah,
Right.
making notes.
I so appreciate you guys having me, though. It means a lot to be thought of, and there's a lot of great Zelda content creators out there doing fantastic work, and so to be as you said, the first person you thought of, I'm gushing, I'm blushing, I'm flattered. So thank you guys. Thank you.
No problem. Well, thank you to all the viewers as well at home.
Oh yeah, them too.
And yeah, them too.
Them
Why
too.
not? Why not? Them too.
This is the Cavecast signing off. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.